What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be doing the Revival Kit for the Xbox 360 Xplorer Guitar Hero controller from RetroCultMods. And this is the Revival Kit that comes with the boards. You've got the fretboard here. This is going to be the strum board, and this is the X1. It comes with all of the wiring, USB cable. There is an option, which I got, the translucent strum bar, which will also light up with LED. The aux cable, you may or may not need this. It's primarily for Rock Band 4. This is the USB-C that will go right here as the connection for the USB-C cable. You have your frets. These are going to be necessary for this particular model. These are little inserts that will help make the connection to the fretboard, the internal circuit board. And it depends on what your model number is. This one ends in 6.5, so it's definitely going to be needed for this. I have done one of these kits before on the same exact model. This is the whammy bar kit. This will be replacing the internal whammy bar. And there's a selection of some 3D printed screws and washers, which you may or may not need depending on the condition of your current screws. It also comes with a little bit of a gel for the strum bar, just to help keep it moving smoothly. This is going to be somewhat of a long video, but I'm going to try to streamline it as much as possible. I have taken out a lot of the screws, mostly from the external, and loosened up the screws on the inside. So the first thing you're going to do is just remove all of these screws from the neck and the base. You may end up with one or two screws that are longer than the other, so you want to pay attention to that. And those two long screws, if you only have one, it's going to go here. If you have two, put them here and here. So the first thing you're going to do is remove the base carefully. You don't want to break any of the tabs that connect it in. You can set that to the side. You'll remove the back of the neck. And so everything that's in here is going to come out. This RJ11 port, that's optional. If you want to take it out, you can take it out, or leave it in. That's really up to you. It's not going to be used. But everything else we're going to take out. So, as I mentioned, the screws from the fretboard and also the strum board and the start select board have already been loosened. So I'm just going to start taking those out the rest of the way. My screws are actually in pretty good condition, so I will be retaining those and using them for the new kit. You may have to work these boards off of the standoff, but be very careful not to break them. And when you're removing the screws, make sure you don't strip them out either. So this is the old fretboard. These we will not be using. You can just put them to the side. And I'm just going to remove this from where it is, set it off to the side. We'll get these screws the rest of the way out. And again, I'm going to set these aside because these are in really good condition. The last guitar that I did, the screws were not in good condition at all. So I ended up using the screws from the kit, and it worked great. So on this board for the strum bar, you only need to remove the 4 on the outside. You don't need to touch the 4 in the middle. And I can't say for sure if this guitar was working or not, because I did buy it used, and this is where the old USB cable would go, and it's been clipped off, so did not even have an opportunity to test this one. So this is a perfect candidate. You can usually pick these up pretty cheap, especially if they are not working or missing parts. So we're just going to lift that up, and you can see we've got the old strum bar here. We'll mess with that in just a second. So you can clip any of these wires that you want to. I'm going to do a minimal amount of clipping. I'll probably see if anybody wants the boards to try to repair the USB-C, although the strum board does look damaged right here, if you can see that. But somebody may have some soldering skills and want to repair that. So again, I'm going to leave the RJ11 in here. So I'm going to shear this off right there. And I've already taken these screws out most of the way. Let's go ahead and take them off. I'm going to save this because I am going to rerun my wiring through here. Just be careful again. This one sticks on there pretty good. This will just wiggle out again. Just don't want to break those standoffs. Even though these particular ones we won't be reusing, but just in case. And you want to be careful also not to break the body of the guitar. You don't want to crack it while you're doing all this. So once you get that up, you can take these, and you're going to take this strum bar portion off. We're going to be replacing most of what's here. So the strum bar, I just flipped it to the back so it'll come out of here all the way. We're going to remove this. And that just pops off. So you're going to save these two pieces with the spring. The rest of the stuff you can just put aside. And I'll show you what we're going to do here with this when we get to it. So keep these. We will need these again. So I'm just going to pop the frets out. These are the old frets. Those will be set aside. We won't be using those again. So the first thing that I'll do is take the fretboard. We're going to get that installed. So as you can see with the new fretboard, it is a mechanical as opposed to just the pressure plate from the original. So again, we'll take the new frets with the spacers. I'll see if I can slide this over a little bit. Although this part is very straightforward as well. So the new frets are just going to drop down. And then these spacers go right on top. Then the new fretboard will go on top of that. And you'll see that this has each of the ports marked. So these are going to line up with your other board for your strum bar that goes right here. So what I recommend that you do is connect these first. You can set everything in place and come back to it as well. So these cables are color coded. What we're going to use for this part is the white cable. You're going to need 3 of these. And you can just place these into the slots and you'll match them up later. They do need to be matched up to the right spot on the strum board. So you'll make note, this one is fret 2 is marked, this one is fret 1 is marked, and this is RGB over here. So now that I've got those in place, I'm going to take out my strum bar, or my strum board, and we'll get this wired up. So as you can see, this one is labeled fret 1, fret 2, and RGB. So we'll take our fret 2, plugged into fret 2, fret 1, get that plugged into fret 1, and then the same with the RGB. So although these are on opposite sides right now, when you flip the fretboard over, they will all be lined up as they should be. So now that we've got those on, set that aside for just a moment. We are going to be reusing these 2 pieces that hold the strum bar on, so you can just take those off and set those aside. We are going to be reusing this post for the strum bar. We are going to be reusing these 4 rubber pieces here along with the 2 end pieces for the strum bar. So with these pop out really easily. Just put your finger in behind, comes right out. Same thing on the other side. These feet, they come out from the top. So let's take that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can just set that off to the side. Now we'll get the translucent strum bar, and we'll pop our pieces into the ends. Let's fit nice and snug. And we'll put our rubber pieces into the tops. Same place that they came from on the old one. Let's make sure you get them all the way in. Then we will take this gel that comes with the kit, You don't need a ton of this. You're just going to get a little bit on each end here. Just enough so this thing flows smoothly. Get that in there like that. Put these retention pieces back in place. And then this is ready to mount. So I'm going to go ahead and mount the strum board along with the fretboard just to get those secured so we're not moving around when we're doing the rest of the components. And you don't want to over tighten these, just get them snug. Keep everything in place. And if you need the washers that came with the kit, you can use those as well. These have the built-on washers that work just fine. I'm going to slide this board forward just a little bit so it lines up with these holes in the back a little bit better. Again, just getting these screws snug. They don't need to be super tight. Just snug enough to keep the board in place, and you don't want to over tighten and break the board. Just double check. And then we will get the fretboard into place. And you'll just line these up with their standoff. Get the screws snug. And we will reroute the wires a little bit later, but essentially what we're going to do is just run these down the side, avoiding the standoffs. And then I'll wrap them up in here before we close up. So we'll move on to the X1 board, which is the start select board. So one thing you want to do is just make sure everything looks good here in your contacts for your controller buttons. Your start select, of course, your Xbox button, and your arrow. So those will line up here. And again, we're going to place these on the standoffs and just be careful not to damage the board or the standoffs. Get it seated. And then we'll screw this down. Just getting it snug. And I guess I can mention while I'm doing this, the screws on the inside, they're all small Phillips head. The screws that are exterior that hold the case together are a Torx bit T10 that you'll use to remove those. And I have a little screwdriver kit that has both Torx and some regular Phillips and flathead screwdrivers in it that I got for pretty cheap at Harbor Freight. Use it all the time, works very well. So that is an option if you don't already have one. Okay, so now that we have these boards in place, we need to connect the strum board to the breakout board here. For that, we will use the red wires. So you're going to use these to connect here. This is the home, down, up. This plug is the one right next to left, right. Now these aren't exactly, these are just meshed in together, so that's not the exact port. So the first one is going to be your home. So where you see here, you've got D-pad 1, D-pad 2, and start select. So over here, you've got D-pad, D-pad. So you're going to take D-pad 1 and put it into the D-pad 1 port. You're going to take D-pad 2 and connect it to the D-pad 2 port. Start select is right here. So you're going to take that guy, get him in right there. And then if you want, you can get this connected up. This is the cable for the USB-C port. And that's going to be in this package right here. This is going to replace what used to be the headset port. So this is also 3D printed. You're going to break it in half and insert as I'm about to show you. So this is your USB-C. This is going to be facing out when we're all done. So you'll plug this in here. And I'll tell you, I just do something a little bit different with this one because the instructions that you can find on the website, they're going to have you put the USB-C on this side. So this is right here with the USB-C coming through. What I do is I'm going to flip this around because the piece for the shoulder strap goes right here, and I use a 90-degree connector, and so the shoulder strap connector is in the way. So this way my USB-C 90-degree connector will be facing down and away from that. So you can just slide this into these slots right here. It fits in right there. We're going to set this one aside for a minute until we actually get ready to close up, because if not, it will be going all over the place. So this will fit nicely inside that spot right there when we're all done. I'm going to run this cable as it's going to end up right now, and just out of the way. Then we can do our whammy bar. So with this piece, there's also a video for this, and it's going to determine which one of these you use, depending on whether your whammy bar was on the left or right side of this setup here. So mine was on the left, so I'm going to grab the one marked with an L. We break it in half. And then this is where we're going to need some of these pieces from before. So the whammy bar, this piece will go in here. You'll find the way to fit it in. And this can go in last if you want. This piece will go in right here. But before we put this on, actually, you're going to take this piece and you're going to try to snap it on, keeping everything together, just so this nub that's on the whammy bar itself sticks in between these things, so you get the spring tension here. So at this point, I'm going to set this in here, slide that into the track. Actually, that's upside down. And again, you'll take this piece, the one that has the L on it, and this will go over the top. Now this part can be a little bit tricky because you need to get this piece underneath where the spring is. So you want to bend that back just a little bit, enough to snap it in. Once you have that snapped in, that is pretty much it. you will add the aux. Of course, again, that part would be optional. I'm going to do it just in case I ever need it, but I don't anticipate that I will. So you're going to add the cable right here where it's got the auth, and then you're going to run this cable however you would prefer. I found that it fits really nicely right there, and that is going to go into the big slot right here. It's going to stick out just a little bit from the 3D printed piece, and your whammy bar is going to plug in right on the end here where it is marked as whammy. So once you have that done, you can reroute all of your cables so everything is neat, and you want to make sure it's out of the way of all of these standoffs for the screw holes for the case. So for mine, I'm going to be running them through this piece right here, which is where we took that retainer off earlier. So that will go there. And then we'll get the screws in there as well. Again, same with the rest of the screws. You don't want to over tighten this. You just want to get it on there snug so things aren't moving around. And this one is not nearly as important as the rest of the screws for the boards because this just keeps a couple wires in place. Tuck this guy back in here. We'll fix that one in just a second. So I'm going to reroute these wires, keeping two on the one side, one on the other. And I'm just going to bring these around to the side here. You don't want to bend these. It's okay if they curl a little bit, but you don't want to bend them and break the wires that are inside of them. These are going to come down like this. So once you have all that in place and your wires are out of the way, you're going to carefully put everything back together, making sure that none of your wires are covering the standoffs for where your screws for the case are going to go. Make sure these are in the little slot made for the wires to come from the neck into the body. We will take this piece for the USB-C. Make sure that the USB-C is seated correctly along with that auth cable. And then this will just clamp down on top. And once you have it on there snug, you can put your case back together, and again, just make sure that no wires are in the standoffs. Carefully get everything set, and definitely do not force any of these, and looks like we're all good. So I am going to screw this back together, and RetroCultMods does have on their website a piece of software that you can use to program and change all of the button colors if you wish, the color of the strum bar if you got that translucent strum bar also for the RGB colors. And that's where you will also set the tilt and the whammy bar. So you can set those how they are going to activate and where the dead zone is for the whammy bar. Other than that, this thing is going to be, or should be, ready to go as soon as you plug it in. And I have tested this on an Xbox 360 and it worked without any other modifications. It was just plug and play. So I hope you enjoyed this, and best of luck. I'll see you next time.